Hello everybody, it is Black Frost here today with a tutorial. This is the first time I've done one of these, so it's gonna be kind of bad, don't judge me. But so, first off, we have sketching. Use sketching to your advantage, especially if you have layers, because it can help you structure your characters better and proportion everything out just easier. And then for line art, one thing that I've seen a lot of beginner artists and that I definitely used to do if you look back on my old videos, is make a really thin pencil tool and sketch like you would with a real pencil. But it doesn't exactly work the same way, and that's what you're seeing in the quote-unquote bad example, I guess. Just try and keep your lines all connected and to a certain thickness where you can see them easily, so that it just looks smoother. And there's a finished example for the line art. Moving on, we have coloring your characters. An easy way to color this, and this is a reason to keep your lines super connected and nice, is to select the outside around the character and then inverse the selection. Also, something that I would like to note is that as I drew this character, I noticed that it looked more and more like Ivy Bruce's character, and I'm really sorry about that because I was just kind of choosing colors and putting them down. So, sorry. And then another thing is with your colors, you don't want to choose the strongest or most saturated of the colors because it can end up looking really it looks a little bit off and unnatural. So that's why instead of going with straight up white, I did cream. And brown, I did a lighter brown and a lighter orange. And so on the left, we have the not so good example where I didn't select it, so the color is going outside of the lines a little bit. And that's another bad thing about those sketchy lines, is they can end up looking really sloppy and the color can look kind of all over the place. And then with the solid selected colors and just using the pen tool to color it in, it just looks really sharp and unnatural. And that can be a stylized choice, but just occasionally it can turn out looking bad. And next we have shading. So for good ideas for shading, choose a color that's not super dark or that contrasts the character that you're coloring, because it can end up looking, it looks less, you can see the shading better. So I was going to do green, but then I changed it to purple because the green looked weird. And if you have this option, use overlay or darken when shading your characters, because it just makes it easier. And something that I found actually really helps my art look better is doing 2 layers of shading or 3, depending on how much I feel like doing, where one is a fluffy pastel or something where a brush with texture, and then another layer using a pen brush so that there's some more defined shading within that lighter, more textured shading. And it just it helps define the shading more and make it look just a little bit smoother in the finished product. Another thing is depending on where the light is coming from, it's helpful to put a bigger, more solid, I guess not on the lines, you'll see me do it with an airbrush of where the light is coming from, on the bottom, to help make the shading darker in that region, It just looks, there it is, right there it is, yeah. And then moving on to the darker, I don't know what I was doing there. Okay, whatever, but why am I still shading it? It's done. Oh, I'm coloring in the line work, that's what I'm doing. Okay, so coloring in the line work can make your art look a lot softer and nicer, because with black line work, it can look really, it can look too dark, because with the colored line work, it can help it blend better with backgrounds and stuff. And then moving on to the quote-unquote worst example, I guess, is just using black and an airbrush to shade, because it looks really undefined and kind of sloppy with the airbrush, because it's just it's not sharp enough. And then another thing that I see a lot of beginner artists do is using highlights way too much, like to a level that just isn't comprehensible, I guess. But yeah. And just another tip, use clipping to shade your images so that it looks more connected and nicer. So there's the finished product. Bye!